Hello and welcome to qualifying 2 for the Virtual Endurance Championship 24 Hours of Le Mans. My name is Neil Heatley, coming from you live in Glasgow this evening. And of course, qualifying 2, a little bit of a different setup than what we have usually here in the Virtual Endurance Championship. Usually it's just 20 minutes for each class, for the GTs, then the prototypes just before the race. But to help emulate the atmosphere of Le Mans Week, we have two-hour sessions for you. This one being the night session, slightly more scary perhaps for the drivers, hard to pick out their braking points, but oh so much more fun for us to watch. Qualifying 1 did of course happen yesterday, and the current provisional pole sitters is the number 2 DHR car, Nikita Wisniewski, with an absolutely fantastic 3 minutes 19.717. Second place in the P1s provisionally at the moment is the number 22 GNS car, and third is the 24, the Magenta Warriors Racing Team car. For Prototype 2, the current pole sitters are the number 50 Undercover Sim Racing, Antti Jens, with an absolutely outstanding 3:34.608. No idea where he got that pace from. In second place, it's the Seawolf Net Race 46, and in third, the 31 Flatline Racing car. The current championship leaders, though, Atlantic Motorsport in the 32 car, a long way down, 7th place in class. They want to try and improve on that position this evening. And in LMGT, the current pole sitters are the number 89 Velis Simsport car, their second car. In second is the 84 Dark Racing car, and third is the 66 SRVN car. So it should be an absolutely wonderful session that we've got for you this evening. But of course, along with our normal VEC contenders, we've got four invites, if you will, 4 special cars, all from the VLMS, trying to prove their worth with the big boys in the VEC. In Prototypes 2, we have the 139 Fanatec Drake racing car, and in GTs, we have 3 cars, the 175 Caspian Motorsport BMW Z4, currently 4th provisionally, fantastic showing for them. We have the 169 Witchwood car, and we have the 170 RSA Protea car. So, a very exciting session for you coming this evening. Currently in final practice just before qualifying, Tomio Yala in the Magenta Warriors car, the number 24, is on top of the timesheets, but with a 322.663, that won't improve his grid position. So we've just got to see what these drivers can do in this night session. Night at Le Mans is something very special. Special atmosphere around the track. You'd have people having parties, camping, some fireworks, barbecues, and of course, that's part of the special part of Le Mans. Is it just the general atmosphere of everyone there, and trying to recreate it here. I think we've done a good job of it in this wonderful DX11 version of Le Mans, specially made for us by people within the club. Thomas Beha, I know, has done an absolutely fantastic job of this circuit. And it just really goes to show how nice it is, to be honest. Our totem and our overlay, the only DX11 overlay you will find. Cutting edge technology here at the Virtual Endurance Championship and SimRacing.club. Pavlos Mashunas, coined to many of you, a fantastic tech man, and has allowed us to have this wonderful, wonderful overlay. But indeed, just having a look at those timings from last night, the number 2 Doug Henson racing car, currently 3rd in the P1 championship. They're going to need a little bit of luck in order to win that championship. However, Nikita Wisniewski, a massive steal from Fidar Ragnar Simulator, the current champions number 1, not participating here at Le Mans, not going to defend their championship. So might as well get their best drivers into other cars, and indeed DHR has managed to make the steal of the century in doing that. But that 3:19.7, an absolutely outstanding lap. Of course, we've got to remember we have 3 marks in the P1 class. We have Nissan Porsche and Audi. The Nissan, of course, the infamous, I'm pretty sure that's the right word, infamous front wheel drive GTR LM. They were second and third last night in last night's qualifying session, just half a second and 3/4 of a second off of Wisniewski's time, respectively. And the first Porsche was indeed the. Just having a look myself, I do believe it was the Team Virus car, the number 4, with Nicky Jakovic at the wheel last night. Always fast, the Porsche, always fast, that Virus car. So we've just got to see what they can do this evening. Looking down in P2, Prototype 2 is our spec class in the series, if you will. All of them are Orica 05 Nissans, so it's really on the setup and driver talent that sets these cars apart, and we've seen that all the way through the season with the number 32 car. We had Diego Carranza qualified last night. Tonight it looks like we're going to have Lazaros Filipakos qualify that car tonight. We're going to have to see if he can improve from that 7th place showing last night. And of course in GTs we have many wonderful marks in GTs. A lot of Corvette C7Rs. That's going to be the vast majority of the fields you're going to see this evening. But we do have a Porsche. We have about 3 Ferrari F458s. A fantastic car, the F458. Very iconic. Very easy to see. We've got an Aston Martin Vantage as well. And from the VLMS we have a BMW Z4 from Caspian, and I do believe we have an Aston Martin Vantage as well. Indeed, the 71 Talking Door racing car is an Aston Martin Vantage. So a couple of outliers there in the GT field. The vast majority of them being Corvettes, but we can just see how diverse the grid can be and how wonderful, how close these cars can be. Won ACO last night as well, of almost championship contenders just outside for the running for Le Mans. They've been absolutely fantastic. They won the championship in VLMS this season with many of the same drivers. Boya Milan, who looks like he's going to be at least starting to qualify the car this evening, was part of that championship winning team. We've seen before that the one ACO car is fast and furious. We've seen that it can be absolutely consistent, metronomical. And we might see that tonight again from Mr. Milan in that 7 car, the Audi R18. Indeed, ramping up towards qualifying, only about 6 minutes to go. Drivers just trying to get their laps in, just perhaps trying a little bit of a qualifying setup at the moment, getting used to the darkness, getting used to the fading light, because in about 6 minutes time we are going to have a symphony of the night. All these engines, 33 at the moment, roaring into life and going around the 8.5 mile Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe. Circuit de la Sarthe, of course, an absolutely iconic track. Changed over the years ever so slightly. It used to be a massive triangular track going between 3 towns of Arnage, Mulsanne and Le Mans itself, but it's been shortened ever so slightly to permanent circuit from the beginning of the Porsche curves all the way around to Tetra Rouge. That's permanent circuit, but of course the joy of Le Mans is using those public roads from Tetra Rouge all the way around to the run up to the Porsche curves. Public roads, very bumpy. The suspension has to be soft enough to handle it, but not soft enough, but not too soft, so it just wallows around the Porsche curves, because that is where really you're going to lose a lot of times through those Porsche curves. Very high speed, technical, and that's where you're going to lose a lot of your time, especially through the Porsche curves. Through the Tetra Rouge S, that first sector is extremely technical. A lot of weight changes under braking, a lot of weight changes under acceleration as well. That's where you need your car to be strong in order to have a good lap time around Le Mans. Indeed, the absolutely terrifying Mulsanne straight, the Honda DR Used to be a complete unbroken straight from Tetra Rouge all the way down to Mulsanne. I do believe the speed record was by a Peugeot under Project 400. That is just us having our 3 minutes until qualifying uh, warning from our race director tonight, Mr. Jimmy Allison, hailing from Denmark. But indeed, it used to be a complete unbroken straight from Tetra Rouge down to Mulsanne Corner. It really tested the engines of the old Group C cars, really testing what those engines can do at high speed and making sure they can last for long enough at those extremely high revs, almost topping out the entire time. But indeed, I do believe the speed record coming down the Mulsanne Straight was 408 kilometers an hour by a specially, well, don't say specially made Peugeot. It was a Peugeot Group C car that they discovered wasn't going to last the entire race. It just didn't have the components for it, so they decided, why not just do a speed record instead? So taped up the grille and just went for it down the Mulsanne Straight. An absolutely terrifying amount of speed at the end of it. Indeed, Le Mans has changed over the years, introducing those chicanes on the back straight, but the cars have changed as well. Group C with those massive engines have now changed into these modern LMP1 cars, the Audi R18, the Porsche 919, the Rebellion R1, and indeed the Toyota TS030. All these new generation of prototype cars with these hybrid engines helping deliver power at all speeds and out of all corners. It's just really a fantastic sight to see them accelerating out of the corners, especially when I personally went to the VEC at Silverstone. Seeing the speed of them through Maggots and Beckett's was just absolutely terrifying. It just goes to show the amount of downforce these cars have and the amount of grip the tyres have as well. But indeed, ramping up to this qualifying session. Who's going to take pole? Indeed, it's going to be an aggregate of the two times. The fastest time from the two sessions will be that car's time for qualifying. As we just have the final countdown towards qualifying, the fastest time out of the two sessions will count for your car's time. But we might not actually see any improvements this session. The pole sitting time from this session might not actually be the pole sitting time overall. Just got to see just got to see what unfolds over the next 2 hours here at Le Mans. Indeed, that is us just moved into our qualifying session now. 35 cars in the garage waiting to take their turn in the absolutely awesome darkness here at Le Mans. It's going to be very tricky as well, as we have an absolute rush to get to the exit of pit lane. Never seen anything like that before. My goodness, there's 2 hours in the session, drivers. You don't need to all go out at once. That is absolutely extraordinary, and indeed here we go, the first cars out onto circuit, and I do believe the car at the head of the train is the number 14 Vaudeville Racing, currently being qualified by Edmund Trevelyan Johnson. And indeed second in that train I do believe might well be Stephen Bailey from the number 2 Doug Henson racing car. That's the number 3 Doug Henson racing car. Excuse me, they of course have 2 cars in LMP1, both with almost the exact same liveries, just the number on the front differentiates the 2 of them. And indeed, Stephen Bailey is driving for the number 3 at Le Mans. Bailey, the Le Mans specialist, if you will. Always extremely quick and able to get the time out of that car, as Nikodem Wisniewski appears to be qualifying the 2 car again tonight. Can he improve on his 3:19.7 from yesterday? But just due to the nature of Le Mans, it's going to take a little bit of time for the times to start coming in. For these LMP1 cars, it's a 3.5 minute outlap, followed by a 3-minute 20 lap, so it's going to be a good 7 minutes or so before we start to see these lap times. And of course, these lap times might not necessarily be representative. A lot of them will be just testing out the darkness, testing out what grip they've got on track, and just seeing what they can do before they really start pushing the car that hard. And indeed, we did see that last night with Wisniewski, leaving it till the last half hour to set his fastest time. Indeed, as I said before, we do have 3 marks in the LMP1 field: the Nissan, the Audi, and the Porsche. And you can tell them apart. It's far harder in the dark, but in the light you can tell them. The Nissan is very iconic. It's got that massive front end. It almost looks like a coupe. It looks like an LMP Viper almost, with that massive front end. And the Porsche and the Audi look very similar, but you can just tell the difference between the two of them, because the Audi's a little bit more vertical towards the front. It's a little bit more like a brick wall, if you like, rather than the Porsche. And indeed, just coming through towards the end of the Porsche curves is Edmund Trevelyan-Johnson in the number 14 Bud Buell racing car. Let's go on board with him for the first flying lap. Coming through the 4 chicanes at the end of the lap, you've got to be very careful not to cut these, because it will invalidate your next lap if it is your fastest. Coming out of the 4 chicanes, up into 4th. Up into 5th, 240, 260 kilometers an hour, flashing the lights coming along pit lane, just in case any GTs want to jump out on him. Coming up in 6th gear, 280 kilometers an hour into the very difficult Dunlop chicane. So we have a GT in front of us. I do believe it's the Atlantic Motorsport GT. Coming down the S's, the GT gets out the way very nicely through the Tetra Rouges, down into 3rd gear. Does he go down to 2nd? No. Up into 4th for the right-hander, then to Tetra Rouge, possibly one of the more important corners on the track. A minimum speed of 195 kilometers an hour in 4th gear. Now, it's time for the drivers to relax a little bit. It's the first section of the Honda DR, the Mulsanne Straight, coming down to Lars chicane. This is the longest straight on the track, and indeed where these cars reach maximum velocity. 7th gear, 335, to reach 340 kilometers an hour, not quite 337 kilometers an hour under braking, down into 2nd through chicane. But that is an absolutely awesome speed, almost 340 kilometers an hour, banging up the gears again, up into 6th. Coming down the 2nd section, getting ready for the Michelin chicane. Up into 7th, what is the maximum speed before braking? 325, 330 kilometers an hour. Just a little bit of flash, because you can see some cars in the distance. Possibly just Trevelyan-Johnson wanting these GT cars ahead of him to know that he is on a flying lap. Now coming down towards Mulsanne corner, one of the most difficult braking zones on the track. It's slightly curved. You've got to do weight transfer and braking at the same time. It's very easy to lock up these wheels. Coming down 330 kilometers an hour, braking. The Mulsanne corner, the 2nd slowest. Oh! Trevelyan-Johnson had to put a little bit of counter steering in there. Perhaps the gears locked up ever so slightly. And indeed, gets a very nice run coming out of Mulsanne corner. The 2nd slowest corner on the track, coming up through 3 kinks before Indianapolis. That's the 1st. Here's the 2nd. Just waiting for this 3rd ever so slight kink, and this is an unbelievably difficult braking zone. Oh, you can see a little bit of counter steering. The rear end wanting to step out slightly, coming through Indianapolis corner, a banked corner. You can take a little bit more speed there through there than you think you can, because of that banked area, but it's so easy to wash out on the exit. Then coming through Arnage, the slowest corner on the track. Now coming to the proper downforce section, the Porsche curves up into 7th gear, once again breaching the 300km/h barrier. Down into 5th gear for the right-hander. He's gone wide, washes wide slightly, perhaps a little bit too much speed. Has to do quite a lot of counter steering through here. Down into the long right-hander, 5th gear. Through Virage Corvette, 5th gear again. A little bit very twitchy is this Porsche. Coming through Maison Blanche, the flat out right then left. Now braking for the Porsche curves again, the Ford chicanes again. The first one, oh so much faster than the second. Down to 100km/h for the second chicane. What time is this for Trevelyan Johnson? It's 22.4. Not too bad for your first flying lap, but Christian Michel on the Velis Simsport car immediately responds with a 21.407, currently fastest. Tommy Oyala is currently third in the Magenta Warriors, number 24, 2 seconds off the pace. The fraction of a second behind him, about half a tenth behind him, is Doug Henson Racing's number 3 with Stephen Bailey at the wheel. As I say that, Niki Jakovic goes third in that Virus Porsche. These times starting to come in for these LMP1 cars. The question is, what will be the first of the LMP2 cars? I do believe the first of the LMP2 cars may well be Nick Newcomb. If he is not, it's Hillebrand. Bernard has gone provisionally fastest in the number 31 car. That's the Flatline Racing car. The 48 being the Magenta Warriors car, their P2 effort. Third goes Davis in the 50 car. Fourth goes Newcomb in our 139 Fantech Drake entry, the VLMS Invite. And currently provisionally fifth is Sove in the number 40 Scuderia GT Italia P2 car. Indeed, it might be very interesting to see what Oscar Hardwick can do in the GNS Endurance number 22 Nissan GTR LM. We know that Oscar Hardwick is an incredibly fast driver, and this GTR LM is fastest in the straights. Not so good through the Porsche curves, the twisty parts, because it is front wheel drive. It tends to understeer a little bit, but in the straights it is an absolute monster. Coming across the line. Where does he go? He just does... Oh, sorry, that's his outlap. I thought he was on a time lap, but no, that isn't just indeed his outlap. Looking towards the GTs, the current provisional pole sitter is Colvin... Sorry, it's now Arne Schoenvliet in the number 94 Velis Simsport car. That's the current championship leader. In provisional second is Colvin back in the number 77. That's a 3-wide motorsports car. In third is Boyd Bryson in the number 53 Flatline Racing car, and in provisional fourth is Ilaria Finn in the number 68 Texas Squadra Corsa car. Niki Jakovic is just past. I believe that's a Fantech Drake racing car. Indeed, it is coming down to Mulsanne corner. He's now got a very nice run coming down towards Indianapolis. There's only a singular GT I can see ahead of him. Will he be able to catch him before he gets to Indianapolis? We have to see. It is Machado ahead of him in the number 71 Talking Door racing car, the only Aston Martin Vantage we've got on the grid, coming down towards Indianapolis. The flat out right-handed kink in these P1 cars. In P2 you have to do a little bit of staggered braking, because if you try and brake round that curve, that right-handed kink, it's going to unsettle the back end of the car and you're not going to have a nice time. In the GT cars it's one massive braking zone because of the increased weight and the not as much braking power within these GT cars. Borja Milan currently in 6th place at the moment, the 3:23.6. Not going to be happy with that lap is Borja Milan, or to beat the one Akku's time from the one Akku ECR car's time from yesterday. He needs to get into the 3:20.7. So it'd be a massive ask for that one Akku car. Indeed, these drivers just getting used to these dark conditions. Bernard at the moment with a 38.384. Does that increase his time from yesterday at all? I do not believe it does, because he needs to get 35. That's the 35.6 he needs to improve in yesterday. Still 2.5 seconds off the pace. Of course, there's not much rubber on track at the moment with these 37 cars going round for the next couple of hours. More and more rubber will get put on track, and the track will just get grippier and grippier, and it will eventually be unbelievably quick, this track. As Ahmet Demirkan in the 175 car, our VLMS special, goes into 2nd place in class at the moment, a 3:59.9. A very, very nice lap there. Indeed, he does need to get down to 3:55s if he wants to improve his time from yesterday. Still about 4 seconds off of the pace. We have to see what as Oscar Hardwick does indeed go 7th in class at 24 knots for Hardwick. That GNS car not going any faster at the moment, but Hardwick will just be getting used to the car in this qualification session. We'll have to see what Per Ockfist can do in that Sim HQ Motorsports car. The number 19 car is an Audi, one of the many Audi R18s we've got. He's just gone on his out lap at the moment. We just got to see what that Sim HQ car can do, and the same as for Ridelli in the Scuderia GT Italia car. He's just coming down to finish his first lap, but he's not fast at all. Unfortunately, he's been caught behind both a GT and an LMP2 coming through the Porsche, coming through the Ford chicanes. Certainly not going to help his lap time. Indeed, it hasn't. A 3:28 knot for Ridelli in the number 5 car. Isvire has gone into 2nd place in the number 54 Atlantic Motorsport car in the GT class, and with a 59 knots. The time's still nowhere near what they were yesterday though. That Porsche though, it does look absolutely stunning in the Atlantic's classic colours are blue, white and red, almost like United Autosport. It's a very reminiscent livery of them. But one of the special liveries for Le Mans, one of the many special liveries that we've got Le Mans, is on that Porsche 911. Another one of the special liveries for Le Mans we have got is the Magenta Warriors car. Tommy Oyala currently wheeling that at number 24. It's this very nice mustard gold coloured, I would say it is. Sort of like yeah, I would say it's closest to gold. But and it's very striking, very easy to pick out from the rest of the LP1 fields, not only because it is a GTR LM, but because of that gold colour. Jakovic has jumped up into 2nd place in the P1 field, 22-2 for the Virus driver. The three marks in P1 do have all of their own little quirks. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. For the Porsche, it's absolutely extraordinary out of the corners. The acceleration it has is wonderful, but it lacks ever so slightly top speed, only maybe about 2 or 3 kilometers an hour on the Audi. The Audi does tend to get it gets up to speed slower, however it does have that slight advantage in top end speed. And the Nissan, well, in a straight line, it's just in a bit of a class of its own, really. It goes about 5 or 6, 7, possibly 8 kilometers an hour faster in a straight line coming down towards the large chicane. But it suffers in the turns because of that front wheel drive configuration. I say front wheel drive, it's still 4-wheel drive, like all of the P1 cars, but it's locked with 70-30. 70% of the power goes to the front tyres, 30% to the rear tyres. And it struggles, especially in the Porsche curves around here, and especially through the Tetra Rouge S round here. That's where it loses most of its time, but isn't absolute monsters in the straights. Let's see what Djakovic can do on this lap. Can he go any faster? Coming through the right-hander, coming from the public roads onto the specially built racetrack through the Porsche curves. He does have a GT car in front of him. It is Kalvenbach, who's currently that 7th in the GT class. But will he catch him at a bad time? I don't think so. Comes through Virage Corvette, managed to move to the inside of Kalvenbach, through Maison Blanche, coming up for the final braking zone for the 4 chicanes. Throwing it into the left and the right, and then slowing it down more for the final left and right. Very difficult to get onto the power. Coming up towards the start finish line. What is it? Indeed, I'm not sure what that lap was. Not too fast for Djakovic there. Looking down at the P2 class, the current fastest is McDonald in the number 33 Veles Simsport car with a 37.6. That's not actually that bad compared to their fastest time yesterday of a 36.6, just a second off before that Veles Simsport number 33 starts to improve. In second is Bernard in the 31 Flatline car. He just comes across the line. This time is not going to be an improvement for him. It's the 40.3, and in third place is Hillebrand, currently in the pits in the number 48 Magenta Warriors racing car, a 38.4 for him. I say that as Davis just goes up into second in the undercover sim racing car, number 50 at 38 knot, but still a long way to try and beat Yen's time yesterday of a 34.6. Indeed, for all of you viewers, it's very easy to distinguish the three classes we have here: LMP1, LMP2 and LMGT. The LMP1 cars are denoted by red, the LMP2s denoted by blue, and the LMGTs denoted by green. And you can also tell by the numbers as well. The LMP1 cars have numbers 1 through 25, the LMP2s 26 through 50, and then the LMGTs 51 all the way up to 99. Michelle, I do believe, is on a lap though in that number 21 Vélez Sim Sport car, a 118.1 middle sector. Oh, it's a massive slide. Oh, he's just got hit by a GT car. Demirkan coming through, just coming out of Mulsanne corner. Michelle had a massive slide. Demirkan just went straight into the back of them, though, perhaps not expecting Michelle suddenly slowing down. Indeed, Paul Schumann in number 38 Champion Racing Cars just came through Maison Blanche, and it may be possible to have an onboard lap with him. Just coming across the start-finish straight, up into 5th gear, Schumann. Being balked quite a bit though by Gert James in our VLMS, one of our VLMS invites in the RSA Protea Sim Sports car, goes extremely wide coming through the S's. A fantastic save there from Schumann actually. Just trying to get around Gert James, but to no avail. Still behind him, coming up on the run through Tetra Rouge. Oh my goodness, perhaps a little bit of miscommunication there between the two cars. Coming down into the longest straight on the track, coming down to Lars chicane, up at 6th gear, 300 kilometers an hour for these P2 cars. Down into about 322 kilometers an hour for this P2 car. Ever so slightly wide coming into the chicane though. Has to allow Borja Milan pass in the one ACO car. Coming down in the second chicane is Schumann. Got Machado ahead of him in the talking door car. Oh, another miscommunication between the P2 car of the Champion Racing number 38 and this time Machado in the Aston Martin Vantage. A little bit of it. Quite a bit of miscommunication with this P2 car. Very, very obscure to see. We don't really see this as he goes almost straight on at Mulsanne corner, misses the apex completely. Coming up into Indianapolis, breaking 310 kilometers an hour barrier, just at 320 before the braking. You could hear that. Oh, and he just goes straight on at Indianapolis. Does he keep it off the tyres? And he does. Just perhaps a little bit too greedy with the throttle there on the right-handed kink before Indianapolis and the left-hander itself. Oh, very wide coming out of our nars as well. Seems to be having a lot of trouble with this car. He seems to just not quite understand the car at the moment, outbraking himself into a lot of areas, a lot of missing communications with GTs as well. Now through the Porsche curve, stuck behind Machado and the Aston Martin Vantage. There's really nothing you can do between these P2s and GTs coming through the Porsche curves, because it really is just one line through the vast majority of it. You just have to wait behind if you're a prototype car. Indeed, he will get the better acceleration coming out of Virage Corvette, coming through Maison Blanche. Still trying to find a way past Machado. It's almost like watching a race here, and there's contact between the two of them. Oh, that's not going well at all. It's a lap from hell there for Schumann. Not gone well at all for the champion racing car with the American flag on the fin of the car. The red, yellow and blue flashes along the side, the green rear wing. It really is a bit like watching a 300 km/h Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. But some of you may have noticed on our broadcast so far, coming out of my sand corner, we do have a little plug for our own club, if you will, plugging the SRCA, our Sim Racing Club Academy. This is where your endurance racing career in SRC begins. 3 races over 3 weeks. You only need to complete 2 of the 3 in order to be eligible for the license 4. You start out with license 5. If you are deemed to be good enough by the stewards, and I say be good enough, essentially don't cause any crashes, don't cause any incidents, drive clean, and you will more than likely be awarded the license 4. That allows you to go into VLMS, picked up by a team in VLMS, which of course is our feeder series to the VEC. The VLMS has slightly shorter races. The standard is 4 hours for the VLMS with a couple of longer races thrown in. For example, last season, season 1 of the VLMS, we had the 6 hours of Sebring and the 12 hours of Le Mans as our longer races to try and emulate a little bit of the fun the VAC has. And if you impress enough in VLMS, or indeed if you impress enough in SRCA, you can go up into VEC, the Premier Series. You can see here at simracing.club. The standard 6-hour race, just like the real life WEC, with the longer races thrown in. This year we had 3 longer races, the 8 hours of Silverstone, the 12 hours of Sebring, and of course this one that we're qualifying for at the moment, the 24 hours of Le Mans. It all starts with the SRCA, that academy over 3 weeks, 3 races. Just do 2 of them and you will be eligible for that license 4. Indeed, we've had a, and perhaps let's have a prototype 2 on board lap. Let's see if anyone is close to the starting their lap, so we can have a nice full on board for you for these cars. Having a look, there's not really no P2 cars really towards the beginning of their lap. Perhaps we'll just wait a couple of minutes for one of them to start coming through the Porsche cars before we go on board with one of them. Indeed, in that P2 class, Lazarus Philippakos has gone provisionally fastest with a 37.135. And I do believe that is them going faster, and indeed it is. It was a 37.6 was their fastest time yesterday. The lap from this session will count for that number 32 Atlantic Motorsport car with Filipakos currently at the wheel. Drago Carantha was qualifying yesterday. It's now Lazaros Filipakos today. Indeed, just coming out of Virage Corvette, I do believe we shall have a flying lap with Filipakos in the number 32 Atlantic Motorsports car. The current championship leaders just coming through the Porsche chicanes. Let's have an onboard lap with him. Coming across the start finish line now just about, and I say that and he's aborted his lap. What a wonderful what a wonderful time to pick an onboard. Let's have a look. Let's try the number 31 Flatline Racing with Bernard at the wheel. Coming across the start finish line. That's him just set his fastest lap of the session actually. A 37.4. Here he is coming up towards the Dunlop curve. Colvenbach's just came out. Done a nice job to avoid him though. Bernard in this Flatline Racing car. Bright green, nice and easy to spot. Coming down the S's up into 4th gear, 230 kilometers an hour or so. Tetra Rouge S, this corner, that right-hander is very tricky to do. It's slightly blind, going uphill, there's a crest at the top, very easy to lose the car, and it actually feels ever so slightly off camber towards the top of the corner. Very, very difficult to get right. Coming down the first section of the Mulsanne Straight though. What speed does Flatline Racing get up to? That's 321 kilometers an hour before the braking zone for Lars Chicane. Down into 2nd gear. Ooh, very wide through the middle section actually. Something that you'll realise here is that these P2 cars only have 6 gears. The P1 car we were riding with earlier had 7, so one less gear for these P2 cars, which doesn't necessarily help them coming out of some corners because they have to make them far longer than these LMP1 cars. Coming down into the 2nd chicane, 315 kilometers an hour, Martin Vindis is ahead of him. Halt ever so slightly through the middle section, a little bit of oversteer coming out of the exit curb, just touch that curb on the left hand side. That can cause you to have a little bit of oversteer just past Vindis in the number 72 Atlantic Corvette C7R. Over the Mulsanne hump, where we've had several massive accidents. Those Mercedes back in the 90s, if I remember correctly, had massive accidents. Mark Webber had 2 accidents there in Le Mans week. Certainly one in morning warm-up for the race as well. Those accidents with those Mercedes were extraordinary, and of course that final accident with Peter Dumbreck caused them to withdraw Mercedes from sports car racing completely. Say that coming up towards Indianapolis, 315, 316 kilometers an hour again. That back end just wanted to break loose. You can see Bernard had to do a little bit of counter steering. Now coming up to Arnage, the slowest corner on the circuit. It's a very clumsy corner. Off camber, you can see that as it goes ever so slightly too deep. It's down to about 90 kilometers an hour for these P2 cars. Coming up on the final part of public road just before the Porsche curves. Up into 5th, braking that 290 kilometer an hour, I should say. 300 just before the Porsche curves. Down to 4th gear for that right-hander, ever so slightly wide. You can see the yellow boxes flashing at that top right there. There might have been an incident just ahead. It might have cleared by now. Indeed it has. Coming through the long right-hander, 4th gear again. Down into 3rd for the Virage Corvette. Up into 4th, the flat-out right-left Maison Blanche, gearing up for what is the final part of the track, the 2 Ford chicanes. Coming down into 2nd gear for the first one. Ooh, a lot of oversteer through there. And indeed the second one down into 1st to try and get the launch off of the corner. What is it for Bernard? It's the 37.265, his fastest of the session in the number 31 Flatline Racing car. That is Bernard gone his fastest lap of the session, that last one, with a 37.265. As I say that, Tommy Oyala's gotten second in P2, P1s I should say rather, in that Magenta Warriors Racing Team Golden number 24 Nissan GTR LM. In third is Jakovic at the moment in number 4 Virus car. And fourth is Borja Milan in that P1 car, a 21.7, his fastest lap so far this session. Not close to the lap for them yesterday. They need to get to a 20.7 in order to get it. Still another second to find for the Wanaco car. As Michelle has done a 20.8. That's just off the fastest time for that car. Yesterday they did a 20.7, a high 20.7, so about a tenth of a second off for Michelle before this lap is counted. The Daniele Pizzo has gone into the Scuderia GT Italia car. Words failed me there for a second. Has gone into that number 5 car. Of course, you can swap drivers in this session. You can't just abandon the car and have your teammate to come in. It has to be a proper driver swap like you have in the races in order to change drivers. And that's exactly what the Scuderia GT Italia number 5 car has done. But we're not really seeing any improvements. Indeed, the Vela Simsport car number 33, McDonald at the wheel, his fastest lap of the session is a 36.9. Just off the fastest time from yesterday though, a 36.6 is what they did yesterday, 0.3 of a second away. But indeed, we're starting to see that these laps in this cooler night session, I must say, the track is cooler, the air temperature is slightly lower. It might well help these cars in terms of grip. And we're starting to see this with some cars improving on their time from yesterday. Trevelyan Johnson, sorry, that's not Trevelyan Johnson, that's Per Ockfist has just stopped in the first sector. Just pulled off to the right hand side just after the Dunlop chicane. We had Probadnik as well off just on the run up to Indianapolis. Indeed, it's just after Indianapolis got very sideways under the braking zone again. As I said before, the rear end can get very, very light through that right-handed kink. Very difficult to control the cars. It's very easy to lock up those tyres as well. The most difficult braking zone here at Circuit de les Arts in the 8.5 miles. Nikodem Wisniewski though, a 23.7 at the moment, almost a full, well in fact a full 4 seconds off his pace from yesterday. He's bound to improve on that time though, because we know Wisniewski is an insanely fast driver. He's done the entirety of the qualifying for that number 2 DHR car. It looks like he's going to be doing the entirety of qualifying as well today. 4 hours to try and get a fast lap in, of course, here at Le Mans. As he just goes ever so slightly wide, actually, through the gravel at the exit of Indianapolis. As Ed Trevelyan-Johnson's last lap was his fastest in the Vodbull car. 21.693 for the Vodbull driver. Indeed, you can just see between Trevelyan-Johnson and Strand in Matt Strand coming down the Porsche, the Mulsanne straight. You can just see the massive speed difference between the two of them. You can see that Strand is almost a speck in the rearview mirror before we get to Mulsanne corner. These LMP1 cars are extraordinarily fast compared to the GTs. Of course, one of our VLMS special entries is the 175 Caspian Motorsports car, the BMW Z4, currently wheeled by Ahmet Demirkan. I do believe we are going to go for an onboard lap with him, just coming up to the Ford chicanes. Launching himself out of the second Ford chicane, coming across the start-finish line. Just starting a fast lap up into 4th. Up into 5th, 240, 250 kilometers an hour. Julius Review goes fastest in GTs in number 89 as Mirkan brakes for the Dunlop chicane. First gear for these cars. Up into 2nd, up into 3rd, down these S's where Alan McNish had an extraordinary accident in 2011. Braking for the Tetris S from 4th down into 2nd. You can see him a little bit tentative to get on the power. Up into 4th, just over the crest of the S. Down to 2nd gear for Tetra Rouge, keep it within those curbs. 3rd, 4th, and now up into 5th, this BMW Z4. Up into 6th at 266 kilometers an hour. What speed does Demirkan get up to? Does he touch 300? And he does, he just goes over 300 clicks. He's at 304 for the Lars chicane. Down from 6th, down into 1st gear for the middle section of that. Just try and get the punch out of there. Almost immediately up into 2nd, 3rd exiting, and onto the 2nd part of the Honda DR. Braking at 304 for the first chicane. Coming into Michelin chicane, what does he brake at? 298, almost that magic 300 barrier. Down into 2nd, again down into 1st for the middle section of the chicane. Just try and help get that punch off. Up into 5th, psyching himself up now for what I would say is arguably the biggest braking zone on the track, Mulsanne corner. 290 kilometers an hour from 6th gear. The lot of counter steering coming into the braking zone. That rear end just ever so light, because when you brake, of course, all the weight goes to the front of the car. Down to 1st gear for Mulsanne, now all the way up into 4th, into 5th. Machedo's ahead of him in the talking to a racing car. Shouldn't really trouble him though. He's far enough back. Up to 298 299 kilometers an hour every slight second. You can see the double braking zone for these GT cars. They need to brake, then turn, then brake again. Down to first gear for Indianapolis now. Our NASCAR, the slowest on the circuit, down to about 75 kilometers an hour for Demir Khan and this BMW Z4. Closing in on Machado though. Up into fourth, into fifth, coming up to the Porsche curves, the high speed section of the track. This is really where you need your downforce. From sixth down into third. Trying to balance the throttle ever so slightly, trying not to compromise your line too much for this double apex, the left-hander. Oh, as we've got Lazarus Philippakos going up the inside, forces Demirkan into the wall on the right hand, the arm going on the right hand side, the concrete wall on the left. That's Demirkan's lap over. And you can just see how difficult it is for these prototype cars to get past the GT cars, especially through those Porsche curves. It requires a lot of cooperation between the two classes. And indeed, as we were going through that lap, at the very beginning, I did say Eunice Revio in the number 89, I should say, Vela Simsport car does go provisionally fastest with a 56.6. That 89 car did do the pole sitting time of a 34.8 though, so almost 2 seconds off the time from yesterday. Currently second is Kevin Ryan in the number 84 Dark Racing car. And third is Arne Schoenvliet in the 94 Vela Simsport. But still, the pole setting time's not close to yesterday. We're a second, still 1.1 seconds off the pole setting time from yesterday. Christian Michel currently fastest in this session in the 21 Vela Simsport car. In P2's currently fastest is Nikola Probodnik in the 46 Seawolf Motorsport car. Enzo Fazzi in second in number 33 Velis. So Velis, almost fastest in all three classes at the moment. Velis have almost got a stranglehold on all three classes. They just need Enzo Fazzi to go ever so slightly quicker. He just needs to go he just needs to go 9/10ths quicker in order to get fastest in the session. The P2 cars, you know, it's not that much around Le Mans, is it? But indeed, Fazzi is Velis has almost got the stranglehold on all three classes. But part of Le Mans, especially here in qualifying, is a little bit of cooperation is needed a lot of the time between these cars. They need to if you're on your outlap, you need to let cars by because you don't want to impede their hot lap. But indeed, even between two cars on hot laps, the P1s and the GTs, there's a good 45 seconds between the two classes. About 35 to 40 seconds, I should say, between the two classes. That's really hard to deal with when you're both on hot laps, especially if the P1 catches the GT somewhere like the Tetra Rouge S or indeed the Porsche curves, because we've just seen a couple of minutes ago between Demirkan and Philippakos what can happen if there's a P prototype car tries to pass a GT car. Even Bailey though, his fastest lap at the moment is a 22.2 in that number 3 DHR car. He'll be wanting to do far better. Indeed, something very special in this mod actually is the glow-in-the-dark numbers on the side of the car. It's very easy to see what car you're looking at from the trackside shots. It just allows that white number to stand out, and of course you can tell which class the cars are in by the colour: the red for LMP1, the blue for LMP2, and the green for LMGT. There's so many outstanding liveries on this grid as well. So many that are pop out and are very easy to see. That the special Magenta Warriors Racing livery, that mustardy gold, is a fantastic livery. The same with the number 7 Monaco ECR car, that orange and black that we've been accustomed to in so many of the grids this season. A fantastic livery and very easy to spot. The same goes for Champa, in that currently the GNS car having taken over from Oscar Hardwick. The classic Nissan livery from the old Group C days, the red on the roof, the blue on the sides and the white in the middle. Very iconic, very easy to spot out, and for the P2s at least, the number 46 Seawolf racing car, that ocean blue perhaps goes with their name with the flashes of yellow. That's a very nice car. Atlantic Motorsport with the blue, white and red, another fantastic livery. Flatline, very easy to spot as well with the bright green car. I say that's Kevin Ryan's got provisionally fastest with a 55.8 for that car, the Dark Racing number 84. His fastest time yesterday was a 55.5, I do believe it is. So just 0.3 of the time, getting closer and closer to that as we start to go towards the halfway point of this session. Them racing for Holland with that checkerboard chessboard livery as well. Very nice livery. That's a very nice livery as well. The same goes for Gert James in that RSA Protea car. One of our VLMS call-ups with the South African flag across the top of the car. Very spot and very, very nicely done, I must say. As you say that, it's Frederick Schroeder in the 46 car. I do believe that may well be a driver change for the Seawolf Net Race Motorsport car. Here he is in the pits. That's been a driver change for the Seawolf car. But the top two cars in GTs at the moment just seems to be in the pits, biding their time, just waiting for perhaps a slight gap in the traffic. I say that as my back goes out. That's a driver change, I do believe, for the number 88 Nolan Motorsport car. Kevin Ryan, News Radio, Arne Schoenvliet, Bram Bielen as well. The top four are all in the pits, perhaps just biding their time. Perhaps they're happy with the time so far and they're not going to be able to improve on it. We just have to see 37 cars in the circuit and 8.5 miles. That might sound like there's a lot of room for each of them, but trust me, with the speed differences between the classes, it's so easy to get caught up to another car. Vindegaard in the number 50 undercover sim racing car, though, trying to qualify faster today, or perhaps just using this as a bit of a practice session. Jens did a fantastic job in that car yesterday. As now joining us, we have Eunice Ravio.
Oh, hello, Neil. How's it going?
It's fine. How's it going with you?
I'm just watching Kevin Ryan does some pretty drifty hot laps here and waiting for some better grip for the server.
Indeed, you're driving the number 89 Vela SimSport car. Currently provisionally pole from yesterday with a 3:34.836. Currently today with a 36.630. So about 2 seconds off the pace. Do you think you can improve on that lap time from yesterday tonight?
Yeah, to be honest, there should be some time to find, but I haven't done really many laps on night, so it feels a bit different because I'm running the DirectX 11. So yeah, let's see.
Indeed, number 89 car, Velis SimSport car, not the main car for Velis, not had only 40 points this season for the 89 car. Your main car, the 94, currently in the lead of the championship. Are you here to help support that car? Perhaps give them some setups, or are you here to win the race for yourself?
Yeah, of course. I actually gave the guys my race setup already, and they seems to like it. So yeah, and well, of course I tried to give some hints how to drive fast, but they should know that already. So I don't know.
So are you looking forward to a nice battle in the race? It seems like with the number 84 car currently towing you, going for you toe-to-toe, and the number 66 SRVN car, and indeed perhaps a small wild card of the 175 Caspian Motorsport car from the VLMS. Are you looking forward to this race? Who are you expecting to be battling come the race on Saturday?
Well, I'm a massive Ferrari fan, so of course that orange Ferrari. I want that to be high on standings. And yeah, I don't know that BMW's capacity of going fast, but I hope that be higher also. And let's see the other cars. Yeah, well, the lonely Aston.
The Aston, of course, being the number 71 talking to a racing car.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty tired of seeing those Corvettes on top standing, so I would like some other cars to be there too. At least that orange Ferrari, that's my favorite.
And just now, Christian Michel, number 21 car, has gone fast of the session overall at 20.0. That'll put him second on the grid. A fantastic showing from from your LMP1 teammate.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I enjoyed driving with him. So yeah, that's nice.
That's currently you got cars on the front row in two of the classes. So are you going to be looking for a full sweep of the wins? Because of course you do have two cars in GT. You've got one in LMP2 with Enzo Fazzi currently qualifying that number 33 car, and of course Christian Michel in that number 21 car. Are you hoping for a clean sweep of all three classes?
Yeah, of course. Come on. What else I can hope for? Yeah, at least looking for how Enzo drives.
Also, what's your strategy for the 24 hours on Saturday? Of course, have you worked out roughly what stints each of your drivers are going to do, or are you just going to take it as it comes, really?
Well, trying to stay out of trouble as much as possible, but yeah, you never know. You never know. It's multi-class racing, so anything can happen. At least when there's rain. Oh god.
Indeed, looking at the forecast at the moment, it looks like there may be a little bit of rain at the very beginning of the race, but it should be dry for the rest of it. It may be a drying track to start, so that might cause a little bit of chaos at the beginning of the lap, at the beginning of the race, I should say. And just there, Nicky Jakovic in the number 14 Virus car has gone second in the session at 21.16, and that would put him third on the grid with that lap time. So this night session starting to create some faster laps. So
Yeah.
Eunice, how have you found qualifying so far? Have you found you've been impeded too much? Have you found that prototypes trying to pass you at other points which they perhaps shouldn't?
Nah, not really. I've been quite lucky with those prototypes, at least for this qualifying. So yeah, I don't know.
You were qualifying yesterday as well. What's really the difference between the daytime and the nighttime? What's the extra challenges that nighttime brings for you?
Well, you can't see as much as you see on a day, on night, I mean. So yeah, that gives some extra. How should I say this? Let's say extra. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. But indeed, the driving that number 89 Velis car, I think you better go out and try and improve that lap time, Eunice.
Yeah, maybe I should. The track looks pretty fast now, so yeah, I might try.
It does indeed start to be going faster. So thank you, Eunice, for that interview.
Yeah, thank you.
And indeed, with just over an hour of the session gone, in fact, an hour and 5 of the session gone, it'll be time for a full rundown of the standings. Currently, heading the field is Christian Michel in that number 21 Vela Sim Sport car with a 20.098. Second is Jakovic in the Virus car in that Porsche 919 with a 20.160. Third is current pole sitter Nikitin Wisniewski with a 320.976. Fourth in class is Tomi Oyala with a 21.166. And only 0.03 of a second behind him is Ed Trevelyan Johnson in the number 14 Vodbull. Sixth, only a tenth behind him is Boyan Milan in the 1 Acco. Then a little bit of a gap, 7/10 to Stephen Bailey in the number 3 Doug Henson racing car. 8th is SimHQ Motorsport with Pedro Gomez at the wheel. 9th is Joe Champa in GNS Endurance, and rounding out the LMP1 field is Daniele Pizzo in the number 5 Scuderia GT Italia. In the LMP2 class, Frederick Schroeder is currently at the head of the field in the Seawolf Net Race 46. Second is Enzo Fazzi in the 33 Bella Simsport car with a 36.674 and 9/10 of a second behind Schroeder. In third is Nicholas Hillebrand in the Magenta Warriors car, less than a tenth of a second behind Enzo Fazzi. Fourth is Lazarus Philippakos in the Atlantic Motorsports car with the 37-1. Only a tenth of a second behind him is Michael Bernard in the Flatline Racing 31. Sixth in class is Anthony Jans, the current pole sitter in the number 50 undercover sim racing car. Seventh with the 37.7 is Luca Bonatti in the Scuderia GT in the Italia car. In eighth is Nick Newcomb in the Fanatec Drake Racing VLMS entry. Ninth is Sebastian Rodriguez in the MVT Racing team. And rounding out the 10 cars in LMP2 is Paul Schumann in the Champion Racing car. Current fastest in LMGT is Kevin Ryan with a 55.878. Second is Eunice Ravio, who we've just heard from in the VLS Simsport 89. Third is Ahmed Demirkan, Caspian Motorsport 175, a fantastic showing from that BMW Z4. Fourth is the current championship leading Arne Schoenvliet number 94 VLS Simsport car. Fifth with a 57.190 is Bram Bielen in the SRVN 66. Sixth is Marius Nikolai in the Atlantic Motorsport, in one of the two Atlantic Motorsports cars. Seventh is Cagnoli in the Witchwood car, VLMS entry 169 with a 57.7. A quarter of a second behind him is Salvo Sardina in the Scuderia GT Italia car. Ninth is Matthias Machado in the Talking Door Racing 71. Rounding out the top 10 is Gert James in the RSA Patea Simsports car, our third of our VLMS entries. In 11th, Marcel Offermans in the Sim Racing for Holland car with a 59.6. 12th is Daniel Maybach in the No Limits 88. 13th is Heiko Kolvenbach in the 3-wide car with a 4 minutes dead. Martin Vindis is in 14th in class, 34th overall in the second Atlantic Motorsport car. 35th is Ryan Walker in the Satellite Racing car. 36th is Boyd Ryson in the Flatline Racing car, and then rounding out the field, Ilaria Finn in the Texas Quadricorsa car. Indeed, an absolutely outstanding lap there from Christian Michel to put him second on the grid. But of course, something that you have to bear in mind is tomorrow our race director Jimmy Allison will trawl through all cars' fastest laps, and if they're found to have done a track infringement by either extending or cutting, they will have 1 second added to their time. That could mean the difference between pole and like 5th place in the LMP1 class. Extraordinarily close LMP1, but indeed Christian Michel provisionally second and Niki Jakovic provisionally third, with Nikodem Wisniewski in the number 2 car still pole. In fourth, I believe, will be Stephen Bailey. Sorry, in fourth will be Champa in the GNS Endurance car. Fifth, Tommy Oyala in the Magenta Warriors Racing car. So if I've got my mathematics correct, I do believe that will be your top 5, at least provisionally, in the LMP1 class. Indeed, in the P2 class, fastest time at the moment is Frederick Schroeder in that Seawolf Racing car, the number 46 with a 35.7. That's not fast enough for them at the moment, so the current pole sitter is still Anthony Jens, that number 50 undercover sim racing car with a 34.608. In second will be the Seawolf Net Race car. In third, I do believe, will be the Flatline Racing car. Yeah, I do believe in the third will be the Flatline Racing car. Fourth will be the Scuderia GT Italia 40 car. And fifth will be Velis Simsport. I think these results are, of course, provisional and based on my maths, which may or may not be correct. And in GTs, Kevin Ryan is currently fastest with a 55.8, but that's not enough to take pole position away from the Velis Simsport car. They will be professional pole, followed by Dark Racing. Then I do believe it will be SRV and then Caspian and then Scuderia GT Italia. So I believe the top 5 from each of the from P2 and GT will not have changed from yesterday, but there's been a massive shake-up in that LMP1 field. Oh, a massive slide from Nikodem Vyzhnevsky there, but I do think it will be worth going for a lap on the current pole sitter in that number 2 DHR car. Coming across the start finish line in this Audi R18. Up into 6th gear, right on the limit of 6th gear, coming in through the Dunlop curve, coming into the chicane. 2nd gear through the chicane, coming diving down the hill into 4th, into 5th, and then back down to 3rd for the Tetra Rouge S. Had a second stab at the throttle there. Up into 5th, and then down back into 4th for Tetra Rouge. The car just wants to slide out there, and you always want to take far too much speed through there. Coming down towards the large chicane. An absolutely frightening amount of speed from this Audi R18. That's just 340 kilometers an hour, just touching it. Coming under braking down to 3rd, 2nd, back up into 3rd again. It's very interesting to see the difference between the different prototypes. Only going down to 2nd there is the Audi R18. Flashing his lights ever so slightly, Daniel Maybach in front of the number 88 No Limits car. Just to make sure, Vyzhnevsky wants to make sure that Maybach knows that he's there. Has to take the inside line for the chicane though. Cuts right back across the front of Maybach though. Very brave from Nikodem. The 2nd gear up into 3rd again, accelerating out of the Michelin chicane. Up into 6th as well, coming up into the 3rd fastest part of the track, coming down into the braking from Mulsanne corner, over the hub, back down. This right-hander and then braking hard for the final right-hander down to 1st gear for this Audi R18. Accelerating out. Absolutely frightening acceleration from these LMP1 cars. Up into 6th gear. Up into the 7th, which the only these LMP1 cars, the GTs and LMP2s, only have 6. Up, that's 320, 330 kilometers an hour. Flat out through the kink. Last of the late breakers there for Nikodem. Oh, a little bit of grass on exit of Indianapolis as well. Now braking for Arnage corner, ever so slightly off camber, very slow. In fact, the slowest corner on the circuit, up into 4th, underneath the bridge, 5th, up into 6th. Got to see what Nikodem can do on this lap. Up into 7th for yet another time, coming to the Porsche curves, braking, slam it down 2 gears, into 5th, does very nicely, through the flat out left-hander, the 2nd left-hander, into 6th, bang it down another gear for the long right-hander. Very, very hard to keep the speed, has 3 stabs on the throttle through that corner. Oh, very wide coming out of the Garage Corvette. I think just manages to keep it within limits. Up into 6th gear, just waiting for the 4th chicane, braking, hit it down 3 gears, into 3rd, hitting down into another 2, into 1st gear. What can Vyzhnevsky do coming across the start finish line? And that's as fastest as a 320.159, a thousandth of a second faster than Niki Jakovic, but not as fast as yesterday. Still 4/10 of yesterday's time, but just beats Jakovic by a thousandth of a second in this session. A lovely lap there from Nikodem in the number 2 DHR car. indeed, Christian Michel is just on a night lap. We've got to see if he can. Let's see if he can improve on his lap time. He only needs 3/10 in order to snatch pole position from the number 2 car. Let's see what Michel can do. Oyala has just gone fastest on his last lap, his own personal fastest lap, with a 25 25.568. And indeed, we are currently on board with the number 21 car, Christian Michel. Our current fastest car, just coming out of the pits. On board now with the 22 car, Champa. Just coming through. That's Maison Blanche. So we can just see the difference between the LMP1 cars. We saw what it was like on board the Audi 18 with Wisniewski at the wheel. Let's see what it's like for this Nissan coming across the start-finish line this time. Starting his first flying lap of this run, up into 4th gear, 300 kilometers an hour, up into 5th, just snatches 5th ever so quickly, 305 kilometers an hour, braking for the Dunlop chicane. Coming down the S's in 3rd gear into 4th. Brakes ever so early does Champa, very early, especially compared to Wisniewski, as we saw that previous lap. Just catching up on Cagnoli. Managed to negotiate it nicely, but this is really where the Nissan strives, coming down the first section of the Mulsanne Straight. 330 kilometers an hour. Indeed, this Nissan does only have 5 gears compared to the 6 from the Audi and the Porsche. 345 kilometers an hour coming into the last chicane. Absolutely extraordinary speed from the Nissan GT-R LM. Thomas Jacobs just ahead in the flatline GT car, managed to get out the way very nicely. What can Champa do though, coming down in towards the second chicane, the Michelin chicane? 341 clicks under braking. You can really just see how much time this Nissan GT-R LM gains in these straights. Of course, because it's only got 5 gears in these really long top gears, especially for Le Mans, that really kind of hurts them under acceleration. .336 kilometers an hour under braking from Mulsanne, down to 1st gear is Champa. A very nice launch through it, out of Mulsanne corner though, no wheel spin whatsoever. .343 clicks under braking for Indianapolis. But through Indianapolis corner, very nice bank corner, does that well. A little bit of looking up coming into Arnage, misses the apex ever so slightly. We've got Nicola Hillebrand right ahead. Can Champa get ahead of him before the Porsche curves? But this is where the Nissan loses all of its time through the Porsche cars, because it is front wheel drive. It cannot corner as well, down to 3rd gear, 240 kilometers an hour. The flat out two left-handers, in fact it's not flat out for Champa. Perhaps the front wheel drive showing its weaknesses there. Trying to go up the inside of Nicolas Hillebrand through Maison Blanche, past him nicely, braking for the Porsche curves, down into second for the left and the right, then first for the final chicane. What can Champa do? Let's have a look. Indeed, that was a 22.835, half a second off his fastest lap, as Jakovic and Michel are just coming out of the pits. Jakovic, very interesting there from Jakovic, being on the racing line coming out when Champa was coming up at full pelt. But while we were on that onboard lap with Champa, Jens has shown his pace again in that number 50 car. Showing immediately gone to the top of the standings with 35.6. And indeed, joining us at the moment is Ed Trevelyan-Johnson from the number 14 Vodbull Porsche 919.
Hello. How's it been going so far?
It's been going well. You started in the car for this session. How did you find it?
I mean it was good. The practice session beforehand was tricky because it was at that stage where the headlights and the daylight, the sunset, are fighting, so it's quite difficult to see apexes. But now, well, it's sort of essentially pitch black. The headlights are doing all the work, so you can see quite well all the apexes and everything. So now, I mean, yeah, I would say at about sort of half an hour into the session, it reached sort of peak, and it'll just continue like that. I mean, I don't know whether there's that much more grip that's going to go down, because so many cars have been on the track for so much time. So yeah, I mean, I think people, when they get opportunities, will be able to eke another kind of half a second out, maybe, if they don't see traffic or something like that. But I think this is pretty close to how fast it will go, from what I experienced.
You now have you've now got James Johnson in the car. Do you think you can improve from your lap time from yesterday?
Oh yeah, I think so. We're already faster, I think. So the lap I set, I hope I didn't cut on it actually. I think I didn't. That was faster than the lap we set yesterday. So I mean, I think our Factor 2 has it's sophisticated enough to know about air temperatures and how the car behaves in them. So it should be colder at night, and thus the cars should be faster because there's less sort of, well, I don't know if it particularly behaves in the way it should in real life. But yeah, I mean, the theory is that there's less dense air to push out of the way, so the car will run faster. But yeah, I mean, it looks very tight at the top at the moment. I'm afraid I wasn't able to get much closer, but it looks like James is clawing his way back a little bit.
You are just in the championship hunt. You will need a miracle for it to go your way. Do you think you've got a chance?
What a question. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm the right sort of spokesperson for Vodbull, because I only just got in from Interlagos onwards. But yeah, Interlagos was pretty disappointing. We were just about to overtake the other Porsche, and yeah, we had one of these classic freezes. So we're hoping that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I mean, you know, like in the practice sessions before, obviously I don't know too much about the other classes, but in the practice sessions beforehand, it looked like some cars, I know there's a huge debate about this, that some cars were a little bit slower, and we thought sort of Porsche was a little bit slower, but I mean, as you can see, it's right with the others. I mean, you can see how well the BOP is working. It's so close between lots of different sorts of cars. So I mean that makes for a very exciting sort of race, I think. I mean, I'm quite excited about it on Saturday.
Speaking about Saturday though, have you roughly got your sort of like stint sorted? Have you got your alarm clock set for your middle of the night stints?
Yeah, we have. I think I just heard as I was doing my in lap, we heard that Risto won't be able to make it. I think so. We're down to 4, but that's all right.
Only
We
4.
did it with 4. Yeah, exactly. Only 4. We did it with 4 last season. So so yeah, no, it'll all be good. We've got an idea which might be changed. We've got a spreadsheet that might be slightly tweaked, but the foundation is there, as they say.
You with all fancy with your spreadsheet and everything.
Well, I mean, you've seen a few of my spreadsheets now, the crew chief and the commentary schedules and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
So,
indeed, indeed.
love
Very,
a bit of
very,
spreadsheeting.
Very very adept with the spreadsheet.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Well, I'd get someone like Troy Uyen to do a spreadsheet. But so from your perspective, because it's interesting, because you've obviously been looking at a few different cars. Has the traffic kind of dynamic changed at all in the dark, or is it pretty much as you saw it yesterday in the daylight?
I'm not sure what it is about the darkness. It appears that everyone is slightly more courteous at the moment.
I
I'm
think
not sure
so.
what it is, but it seems like a lot of the there seems to be a lot more cooperation between all of the classes tonight as opposed to there was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think again, there's been a few forum posts saying, "Come on, let's be civilized on track." And I can only speak from my perspective. It's been very nice. I mean, people have rushed to get out of the way, and we've got the headlight system, which I mean, I guess you can see headlights a little bit clearer, and so you just flash your lights at someone, and if they don't move out of the way, they're on a lap. So you know where you stand with that. But I mean, if they're not on a lap, they rush to get out of the way. It's lovely. And from what I saw of prototypes, they were just being really, really nice, coming right off for GTs, letting them get through the twisty stuff, and then going past on the straights. No funny business on out laps.
So who are you? Of course, driving the vaudeville car. Who are you expecting to be racing tomorrow? You're just going to just take it as it is, if you will. Just
Racing
see
again.
what happens. Yes.
Well, I mean, we've got a big target painted on the back of the buyer's car, which is, it's the only kind of reference point, I guess, or the safest reference point we can go for, because it's the only other Porsche. But yeah, I mean, as I say, the cars are so close now. I mean, whoever, I think it's Thomas and well, I can't remember who did the BOP entirely, but I mean, it's worked out so well in the LMP ones. And if I look down in the GTs, how are they doing? Well, okay, fine. I mean, the Corvette had a big nerfing, as they say, but they're still 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Looks like.
That's mainly because I think all but 7 of the GTs are Corvettes. So I think we've got 13 or 14 Corvettes out on track. So
Yeah,
you would
but
it would
you
be
got
surprised, but
you got people like Balin in the Ferrari. He's in Ferrari, isn't he? Yes, he is.
the 66 car is one of the 2 Ferraris. Sorry, 3
Yeah.
Ferraris we've got.
I mean, and he's by no means a slow driver. So yeah, I'd say it's not too bad, VOP wise.
What have you thought of the of course, looking towards the GT class are VLMS entries. Of course, Akmet Demirkan and that Caspian 175, the only BMW Z4 we've got on track, is currently provisionally fourth on grid.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's lovely and refreshing to see it on track. I mean, because as you say, there weren't any BMWs before, so it's nice that it's come from VLMS, isn't it?
Yes.
It's an awesome livery as well. Really like it. And I don't think actually last season we had please don't shoot me, someone, if I'm wrong, but I don't think we had too many Turkish drivers, and I think that is an almost entirely Turkish lineup in that car. So it's nice to just diversify a little bit. That I've always liked that in the taco car you've got well, it's mostly Peruvians, isn't it? And yeah, before last season, I hadn't really ever heard of many Peruvian racing drivers, so I kind of like that sort of stuff.
I thought you were going to say you hadn't heard of Peru, but
No, of course.
Many Peruvian drivers. But it's great to see that we've actually got drivers from all across the world.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I've got the horn for getting some Japanese drivers into the VEC, and I have been talking to quite a bit of the Japanese R-Factor 2 community. And since we've got Australians and they're allowed in, not that they behave badly, but just more because mainly, yeah, I'd love to squeeze more of that out of that joke, but really it's just down to ping. So yeah, I mean, since sort of someone sort of nationality such as Australia is drivers from there are allowed in due to that sort of thing, then Japan should be fine, and Japan has great internet. It would just be great. We see lots of Japanese drivers in iRacing and stuff like that, so be nice to have. So I will continue trying to bring some of them in.
Of course, you've seen that we've also got many lots of as Arne Schumfie's actually just gone. It's actually just gone fastest in that 94 car.
Oh yeah.
That Velis Sim Sport car, 35.551. It vaults him up the standings actually. That is only 7/10 of yesterday, so I think it puts that car provisionally third.
Oh really? Okay, so who's first and second?
First and second is still the 89 Velis, followed by the 84 Dark Racing. They haven't managed to improve on their times yet.
Did Rivio drive the 89 yesterday?
Yes.
That is astonishing, because that guy he's just come through VLMS. SRCA, but I don't know, a few 3 or 4 seasons ago or something like that. Which is, let's face it, not all that long ago. So he's really got up to speed, that guy. That is really something to be taking on. I mean, Sconfleet he's an old hand with the VEC. At this point, everyone knows him for being very, very quick. So if I mean I'm aghast at that. It's great. Nice to see some competition between those two cars finally.
Me just doing some estimations, I do believe that he is 7/10 off of Arabio's time yesterday, and SRVN was 8/10 off. So that slides him almost almost equidistant between the 84 and the 66. But of course, this is pending track limits viewing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be a heart-in-mouth moment.
And Oyala's
the waiting period.
Oyala's managed to split the gap between Wisniewski and Michel.
Oh yeah.
Somehow.
Well,
I say that Michel's gone pole. Michel's
yeah.
gone provisional pole. 19.566 is faster than Wisniewski's lap from yesterday. That's a 21 Velis car provisionally on pole.
They're on a roll, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they've done since yesterday, because they really have picked up the pace. And in practice also, they were obviously up there, but they weren't sort of ahead of and people like Stephen Bailey were really the pace setters. But then again, I mean, that was with race trim. It's funny to see sort of what comes out of the coral reef with these qualifying sessions.
And Anthony Jans has just gone faster himself. His lap time from yesterday was a 34.6. He's just done a 34.4. So this track getting faster and faster as we go on. A new pole sitter in P1, and now Jans improving his time in P2, and Schoenfleet going third overall in third on the grid for the GT class. Obviously, this track getting quicker and quicker with 24 minutes to go in the session.
It's all starting to shake up.
Let's just see. Oyala's lap was a 32.1 in that 24 car. 24.1 vaults him ahead of the GNS. So that puts him third on the grid. There's still going to be a Nissan second row at the moment, but it's going to be swapped positions with the Magenta Warriors ahead of the GNS.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, especially if they start next to each other tomorrow.
I think that's Borja Milan just gone faster as well. Trying to quickly do some maths in my head. Borja Milan has just done a 20.306, which would pop him just behind GNS, so he's gone faster, so that puts him 5th provisionally. This P1 field's starting to shake up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. Again, you know, all of us look at the fast lap tracker that the Sim Racing Club provides, and again, I mean, Ciampa was one of the form guys, and we knew he was on qualifying trim because he was sort of doing 19s and things like that. So, so yeah, it's odd that he hasn't pulled out a bigger lap time, I guess. But just looking at Jans's lap time, he's got a second in hand easily.
He's got 1.3 in this. He's got 1.3 in this session, and indeed he's got 1.1 in the overall lap times on Seawolf. So Jans seems to be an absolute master in these P2 cars.
So I mean, championship-wise, the Atlantic car in LMP2 is leading, right? So they're the
32
the
car is
guys.
leading.
Okay. So is there anyone? Is that up for grabs? The championship in LMP2.
Is the championship for P2 up for grabs?
Yeah.
Well, there's 9 LMP2 cars that have done the full season, and 8 of them still have a mathematical chance of winning.
Oh, really?
So, just a couple of cars can win. It's fine. But the Magenta Warriors car, the 48, the Velas 33, and the number 50 undercover racing car will all need miracles for them to win the championship. They'll need the results to go exactly right for them. But the 46 and the 40, the Seawolf and the Scuderia GT Italia, are currently tied on points, 13 points behind that Atlantic car. So very, very close for them.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to see Atlantic doing well. I mean they have been around forever, that team. I don't know, but I always feel I have to mention that I love the liveries that they get from. Gosh, I can forget the livery maker name now. But anyway, that's not important. Qualifying session. But oh yeah, Coda. That's it. So Capella is in the GT Italia, right? And they are.
Yes.
They are looking to. They're one of the people who can. They have a reasonable mathematic chance to take the championship. Yeah, if something goes wrong with Atlantic. All right.
Well, the very basic one is that if the 40 car wins and Atlantic is third or lower, that's them got the championship.
Gosh.
But just having a look at Philippakis' time is a 36.021. I do believe that puts him about 100th of a second ahead of the Scuderia GT Italia car on combined times.
Well, my
That
hats
puts
off
him in.
to you, sir.
That puts him in 4th.
Uh-huh. My hats off to you for keeping in touch with yesterday's times as well as today's. Mammoth job.
Schroeder has yet to go faster, I believe. Oh no, he has just gone. Oh no, he's still about 2/10 of his time from time from yesterday. So that Seawolf car has not yet gone any faster. Phil Pacos is the first mover in the P2 field. And Jansev, of course, has improved his time, now 1.1 seconds ahead over the combined sessions, which means even if Janssev's fastest time from today does have a track extension in it, he will still take pole.
Well, it's not as with insurance, isn't
which
it?
is just it just shows the absolute pace of Jans.
God, you're right. Cut all he likes. So do cuts stack? So if you do 2 cuts in a lap, does that mean 2 seconds? Or okay, yes it does.
Okay, that was just confirmation from our race director Jimmy Allison that I don't think you could hear on stream, but it does say it does stack. So for each cut or extension, for at least each track limits violation, I should say, you will have 1 second added to your time. So still, Jens could not have that pole position. Just has to depend on his lap from tonight, because that is the fastest of his two.
What did you say pole yesterday was in GT?
In GT, it was let's have a look. It was a 54.836.
Okay. Well, anyway, look who's in first in GT.
First in GT is Mr. Ravio.
Now it is, yeah.
With a 55.2, so that is indeed faster. That improves his position by 0.6 of a second. And Arne Schoenvliet is got a 55.5, which is faster than yesterday's pole time, which means it's currently a Velis 1-2.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they've been very, very strong in GT all season, haven't they?
A Velis 1-2. Perhaps you could see some the 94 Velis car to be guaranteed the title, they need to finish second or above. So, could we see team orders in the 24-hour race to help protect that championship, because they have got that second car in play?
It'd be delicious, delicious. All Rivio needs to do is just hold Ryan up, for not in this session, but at the beginning of the race. Hold whoever's in the dark car up, push him back a few places.
Ravio may well be your gunner for Schoenvliet.
Well, exactly. It's just if the team orders. Yeah, if I was Velez, and if within the bounds of reason and the rules, of course, but I would tell him just to stick to dark like glue. Just make sure he's around them, harassing them, slowing them down somehow.
But indeed, we've seen that's improved pole. That's pole time. Actually, new pole times in all 3 classes at the moment, isn't it? Because Michelle has gone pole, Jans has gone even faster. Now Ravio has taken pole from. Has increased his pole position time, I must say, and Schoenvliet has beaten yesterday's time. So we've seen improved times in pole position for all 3 classes.
Still 15 minutes to go.
Wisniewski just goes a 19.699 faster than his time from yesterday, but of course not fast enough for Michel. He stays second.
I feel like this 19 is becoming a bit like one of those marathon walls that you get through. There are a few people who just on the cusp, and then sort of another half a second beyond that is where the top 2 are.
Indeed, just 4/10 between Uyala and Wisniewski. But once you get faster and faster, really, it's really a law of diminishing returns. It's far harder to gain 4/10 at 319 than it is, say, at 322, especially in these P1 cars.
Well, look, I mean, if I'm my own car is the best reference for this. When I left the car, he's going to ruin my point because he's just improved. But I left the car with a 21.1, I think, and up until now, James Johnson has been on a 20.9, which I mean, and I don't think he's slow by any means, but I think what it means is that the track rubber, as you say, it's just diminishing returns. It's not that much more. It's sort of not as it's not been rubbering in perhaps as fast as I don't know it was at the beginning of the session. It's not sort of the I don't know how to phrase this. You know what I mean?
Yes. I do believe that the top 7 in P1 have actually all improved their lap times. So the top 7 that you see in P1 at the moment is going to currently be your provisional grid. So it will be Michelle from Wisniewski from Oyala.
Mm.
So we will see that massive Nissan power in third place on the grid. Do you think they could be in the lead by the end of lap 1 because of their straight line speed?
Well, last time I checked, they've got.
I think they've got about 7 or 8 kilometres on the certainly on the first on the run down to Lars chicane.
Yeah, but on which car
Yeah,
though? On the
certainly
Audi.
Wisniewski.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they've got. We go up to about 335, 336 in race trim, and I think they go about 343. So, yeah, I mean, yes, but they are, they obviously have a disadvantage in the twisty stuff, especially the third sector. So, yeah, I mean, they'll certainly try. I would expect them to get past on the Mulsanne straight, but and try to make their car quite wide in the third sector. Obviously, in the first lap, you don't have traffic, so I think there will be a standard that's set with how the Nissans behave in traffic and the other cars around them in the LMP1 class.
You know about lapping as well. How difficult is it to lap a slower car, especially through say like Porsche curves?
Well, it's difficult. If you so the first right-hander, you can well, if both cars are playing ball, you can just about go around the outside in a. If you're in an LMP1, you're overtaking GT. Not possible at all if you're overtaking down at P2. You go around the outside of the first right-hander, and then the second quite long right-hander, you can overtake GTs on the outside easy. But yeah, I mean, it's such a rhythm corner, such a rhythm complex. So sometimes you can, and sometimes you just have to be. You have to bite your tongue and be super patient and just stay behind. So if you're talking about the Nissans getting an early lead tomorrow, and they do manage to hold on for a couple of 3 laps or so until they start catching up to traffic, then yeah, especially because the Nissan is a bit slower in the Porsche curves, I think they will find it much more difficult to overtake there, even GTs. So yeah, it's almost like they're a different class in that sense.
So how about you? We know about the special hard compound tyre that we've got for Le Mans. The hardest compound, of course, all the teams will be using. How are your tyres looking for tomorrow?
Are we using the special tyre? I thought it was grey. We've been using. Everyone's been using oranges. I don't know. We're using what's called hards in the in the setup anyway. Sorry. Anyway, what was the question about that?
How are your tyres going to be holding up for the race?
Well, we're hoping we'll get away with about 5 stints. I think. If we don't, go hell for leather in the Porsche curves too much, too aggressive. So yeah, I mean, the thing about Le Mans is that because the straights are so long, and that's not only the Mulsanne straights. You've got, after the Mulsanne corner, you've got quite a long straight section. You give the tyres an opportunity to cool down for quite a long time. So that takes care of them a lot more. So yeah, even though we're all running insanely low downforce, which should eat up more tyres, it's one of the least sort of tyre wearing circuits of the season.
And how long do you find I imagine it'll be the same for pretty much all the LMP1 cars. Are you finding you can do about 12 or 13 laps in fuel?
12 or 13? I think we might get away with about 11, maybe, in the Porsche. But yeah, maybe you're right. I've been doing 11 so far. I can't remember exactly which LMP ones are better on fuel.
Well, no, that I know from the Audi, it's going to be roughly about 12 or 13 laps. So
Okay.
perhaps that's really showing the fuel economy might be something to look out for during this race. As Christian Michel goes even faster with a
Gosh.
19.429. But perhaps fuel economy, perhaps eking out that extra lap every stint will certainly help you save some time from being in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, there are. Yeah, we're all spying on each other like crazy, especially in LMP1. But yeah, I'm sure they're doing it in the other classes as well. I was spying on Stephen Bailey, and he won't mind me saying that because I know he's been spying on other teams in practice, and you know we all keep little tabs on which cars are doing how many laps per stint and stuff like that. And I think they've been experimenting, but in DHR last season they were using a lower amount of fuel per stop because I think they thought it was the returns you get from the speed of putting in a smaller amount of fuel, both on the lap time, but also saving the tyres because there's less weight on them, is what they want to do. So I won't be surprised if DHR specifically does, I don't know, let's say 7 laps or 8 laps, including the out and in laps per stint. So there's some clever tactics going on, and you know I wouldn't even have thought of that before. Before I was told it when I was in DHR earlier this season.
Indeed, and just coming down to the final 7 minutes of the practice session, perhaps final do-or-die laps for all of these cars, just literally putting in enough fuel for perhaps only 1 or 2 flyers.
Yeah, so I mean it's now sort of the time when you start looking at who the form guys are, who you think the form guys are, and seeing what are they going to do. Who's sort of forget who you think it was going to do well at the beginning of the session, just, and look at the people at the top, see if they're going to pip each other. I mean, I think it's going to be close between Wisniewski and Michel. As I say that though, Johnson went third, and then Ayala pipped
Then
him about
immediately
5 seconds afterwards.
Immediately overtaken. So that's now 3 cars down into the 19s. There's Michel, Wisniewski and Oyala, and then Johnson in 4th. And I do believe essentially for the entire Stephen Bailey in number 3 DHR car has done a 20.3. That I believe that is faster than his yesterday's lap time. And indeed, it is faster for Stephen Bailey. So I do believe essentially the top 10, as you see at the moment, all in LMP1, will be your grid for the LMP1 class. At least your grid for the LMP1 class on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, if you look from 7th to 1st, it's second, isn't it? Which, okay, fine, it would be a lot at other tracks, but this is obviously a 3-minute 20 lap time here for an LMP1. And you know, I think it's sort of confirming exactly what you're saying at this point in the session, where the rubber is probably about as rubbered up as it's going to get. It's diminishing returns. Everyone's clustering up a little bit. It's nice to see.
I do think it's worth just saying, with 5 minutes to go in the session, Jens, I should say rather, in that number 50 car has done something rather special.
That's a quick lap time, isn't it?
Something rather special. And Ravio stayed in the pits. He just came out with 4 minutes 40 to go, and of course these GT cars with a 3:55 lap. You really need to start to be getting out the pits now, otherwise they're not going to be improving their lap times.
So
it's very close, because you really need to, for these GT cars, you really need to be out of the pits at about the 4 minutes 10 mark to get your final lap in.
So do we have a new pole for every class?
I mean, Michel is now on pole. Jans has increased his pole time, but it's not a new pole. Not a new pole sitter.
No, but is his time faster than yesterday?
Yeah, and Ravio has gone faster than quicker as well, because for the 89 car it was a 34.8 yesterday. Today he's done. Oh, sorry, his best lap at the moment is a 35.2. I do believe that's no faster for Ravio. There's no faster for Ravio, not faster lap time, but I do believe that Schoenvliet has gone up into either second or third in class.
Hmm.
I do think it is third for him.
Well, it's,
So
I mean,
not the GTs yet. The GTs are a little bit off, but for P1s and P2s, yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a oh god, that was very close with Johnson. No, it's kind of a it's a flag to bear for our Factor 2 that we are seeing faster times at night, as it should be, as it would be in real life. Well, we don't have too much time left, but I was just having a quick look down at Mr. R Factor 2 himself, the boss of Studio 397, Marcel Offermans. How is he doing? He's quite low down at the moment. You would have thought he'd do a bit better in his own game.
Indeed, just looking with 3 minutes left to go in the session, in fact 2 minutes 40 left in the session, all the LMP1 cars are out. Nicola Hillebrand and Sebastian Rodriguez from the P2s are not setting new lap times. Schoenvliet not setting another lap, he's in the pit. Same with Cagnoli. Thomas Jacobs in 27th, Colvin Back and Maybach in 32nd, 33rd, and Ilaria Finn currently in 37th, all not going to be setting new lap times.
Well, I guess Schoenfleet must have been caught out by a dud lap or something like that. It's interesting to see him out at this point.
Capella's just gone second in the P2 class. A 35, not for Capella. That puts the Scuderia GT Italia car second on the grid.
That's going to be interesting. 2 places ahead of Atlantic. And will that hold in front of Atlantic?
Yes, because Philippakis has done a faster lap time today than Carantha did yesterday. So Atlantic's lap time is going to be their lap time, at the moment at least.
Looking quite tasty.
So that's 2 positions, and Frederick Schroeder is going to be I believe is going to be in 3rd place. That seal of car has not gone faster than yesterday. That is currently going to be your top 4 on track. Your top 4 in LMP2. Philippakis just gone 3rd though. He's just gone even faster, so that's going to be 3rd place for him. And Philippakis has retired from the session. That's going to be it for the number 32 Atlantic car. Yeah. That's going to be 3rd place provisionally, at least, for Philippakis.
Gomez and Pizzo also not going to go back on track in LMP1.
Who's this? Borja Milan is just coming through the Porsche chicanes. Porsche chicanes. What is this lap for him? I believe that was just actually an out lap. He's on his last final lap with only 33 seconds to go in the session.
Michelle's backed off. Djakovic has backed off.
Bailey's just started a new lap. Wisniewski, let's see what he is going to be doing.
He's on pace.
It's going to be very close. He's got about 13 seconds to go in the session. He will be able to do a final lap if he wants to.
He will.
Oh,
God, that's right down
to
the
wire. That's a 20.2 that lap, but he can do one more lap. I do believe it. Yeah,
got a car ahead of him.
Wisniewski is the last car across the line.
He's actually got. Oh, he's got Michelle ahead of him. Oh.
This could be very
I think
nice.
Michelle's on a lap as well. I think he got over the line in time.
Yes, he did. Wisniewski is the last car across the line.
Djakovic out. Johnson out.
Champa has just came through Mulsanne corner, but see what he can do. That is it for LMP1. In LMP2, Jans has just came into the pit. Schroeder in the Seawolf car is still on track. The same with Jason Holden-Jones in the Flatline car. In GTs, I think Kevin Ryan in the Dark Racer car is fastest car still out there, just coming down towards Mulsanne corner. Brambielen. Where is he? Brambielen is just came through the first chicane in the back straight.
As Jans calls it a day.
Garcino is just coming through in the RSA Protea car. What can he do? He has gone ever so slightly faster, just a tenth faster, but not enough to prove any places. Still 25th overall for the RSA Protea car.
Oh, that's the end of Michel's lap, I think. Oh, well, he wasn't able to take a good line through the second of the Mulsanne chicane, so I think
because
his lap
Machado,
might
the
be
talking door
compromised.
racing car, is on a lap himself, trying to go through there. But Wisniewski has timed that beautifully, got a massive run off of the talking door racing car.
Now he's going to get slipstream off Michel. Keep an eye on Wisniewski.
79 middle sector.
Is that good? Is he on pace? Can't remember what the sectors are. Yeah, he's on pace. He's 17.9 was his best lap so far. So he's actually faster in the first sector as well. So this is the lap. He's going to do it.
This might be very, very interesting. But see, he's definitely gained time with Michel this lap. I do not think Michel's going to go any faster.
Oh, little squiggle into Arnage.
He's really pushing for all he can as the number 2 driver, trying to snatch that pole from Michel. He just needs to go a 0.27 of a second faster. What can he do? Wisniewski coming up towards the final part of the public road, coming to the first part of the specially built track at the Porsche curves. Oh, very wide.
That's it.
That's it. Oh, that's actually a massive incident for Wisniewski. That's it. Michel on pole for P1.
Well done to those guys.
That is Jans on pole for P2, and that is indeed Ravio on pole for GT. So that's your pole setter set, I do believe, because I don't think anyone is going any faster. Machado in the talking to a racing car, number 71, I believe, is one of the only cars left out on track.
Other than Mr. R Factor 2, Marcel Offermans.
We've got to see what Machado can do. This talking to a racing car, his fastest lap so far this session.
He comes
a
in.
3:57, and he is coming in. And Mr. R Factor 2, what can he do? His fastest time is at 59.3.
Can he
He's
improve?
going on this lap.
Difficult to know exactly where he is because some people have left the session. But
And indeed, is 55, 56, 57, 58.
he does improve.
He does
Goes faster
improve.
than Maybach.
Goes past faster than Maybach in the 88 No Limits car. But indeed, that is qualifying to finished. Christian Michel takes pole position for the number 21 Velis car, followed by Wisniewski in the number 2, then Oyala, then Jakovic, then Borja Milan. Oh, sorry, James Johnson will be there somewhere as well. He appears to have left session. But that will be your top 5 for LMP1. LMP2, it will be Jans, Capella, Schroed. Well, I should say it's going to be Undercover, then Scuderia GT Italia, then Seawolf, then Atlantic will be your top 4. And Ravio keeps on pole position. I do believe it will be a front row lookout for that. It may well be a front row lookout for Velasim Sport. It's going to be very close between them and Dark Racing. Of course, this is provisionally. SRVN, I think, will be 4th, and Caspian Motorsport 5th. Of course, all of this is provisional, subject to review.
Gosh. Hotted up quite a lot at the end. I really thought Wisniewski might be able to do that lap. I think he was just pushing a little bit too hard though. But going to be interesting in GT though to watch that start. I mean, they're really the wrong way around if they want to do team orders because Ravio's got to let Schoenfleet past if they're gonna give them the best chance of winning the championship.
Indeed, but that problem will be that Dark Racing car.
Exactly. You gotta let the if they're doing team orders, they gotta let the 94 past without also letting the dark car past.
So that's qualifying over. All the places have been set. The Velis 21 on pole for P1, Jens in the 50 car on pole for P2, and then Ravio in the 89 Velis car on pole for GT. It's going to be a fantastic race on Saturday, so join us then I've been Neil Heatley. We've had Ed Trevelyan Johnson joining us for the broadcast. Also, thanks to Eunice Radio for the interview halfway through. Join us on Saturday for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
See ya.